Hi, it's Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 264th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We're holding by Parshas Chukas outside of Israel. Is Parshas Chukas talks about a chok, the major chok in the Torah, right? A law that doesn't make any rational sense, i.e., the red heifer, right? The red heifer, remember, made someone. They took this cow that was totally red, and they burnt it, took the ashes, which made the person pure. They sprinkled the ashes on the person, made him pure. And the Kohen who did it made him impure, right? The law doesn't, we don't understand, right, at all. It doesn't make any sense, logically. So you got the story of the red heifer. You got Miriam's death and the lack of water. Moshe Rabbeinu hits the rock, instead of speaking to the rocks, not allowed to go into the land of Israel. And they get punished. Amalek attacks, and Aaron dies. Right, Aaron Kohen dies. A lot here to speak about, but I want to speak about the beginning, where, let's say, chapter 19, verse 1, book of Numbers. It says Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, verse 2, this is the decree of the Torah, which Hashem has commanded, saying, speak to the children of Israel, that they shall take to you a completely red cow, without blemish, upon whom the yoke has not come. Right, again, about the red heifer. Right, so the question is, says, Mori Rebbe, Arav Gon Moshe Stor Moshe, this should be well. In his commentary on Chumash, says the following. He says, why does it say decree of the Torah? Right, seemingly, what should it say? It should say a decree of the paraduma, of the red heifer. That's what it should say. But it says it's the chok, it's the law, so to speak, that we don't understand of the Torah. So Rebbe says that really the entire Torah really doesn't make sense. Everything we look at in the Torah should be a decree. We should look at it as a decree. Either things we understand better, things we don't. Doesn't mean we don't have to keep them, right? We've spoken many times. We have to keep them to the best of our ability, even if they don't seem to make sense. So we have to learn, right? We have to learn about them in order to understand what we need to do. But the reality is it could be one reason, 10 reasons, 15 reasons why certain mitzvahs are given. We don't know. We're not privy, right, to all the reasons the rabbis gave. And even if they gave a number of reasons, doesn't necessarily mean it's the reason, right? But many laws, majority of laws in the Torah itself, do not make rational sense. But in the end, we have to keep them. 100%. 100% we're obligated to keep them. Now, that being the case, Korach never would have made such a mistake. If he would have understood everything the Chok says, Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory, in Drash Moshe and Parshas Korach. So Moshe Feinstein there says that had Korach understood everything's a divine decree, he never would have made a mistake. Why is he going to come out against Aaron? Why is he going to come out against Moshe? Jealousy destroyed him, 100%. But nonetheless, if he would have internalized the message, and he would have understood everything is a chok, everything's a divine decree, never would have made such a mistake. So, then we get to the question, really the entire Torah is a decree, right? Then we could ask, so why do righteous people suffer? Why do evil people have it easy? Right? A lot of questions we could ask. Many questions we could ask. So, my Rebbe brings down, there have been a lot of times throughout Jewish history that the Jews been exiled, been pogroms, there have been holocausts, Right? There have been terrible things. Terrible things that happened to the Jews. So it's a divine decree. There's a reward and punishment, we can understand. Torah makes clear, if I do the right thing, very good. If not, we're going to pay a serious price. And we see at the end of the book of Leviticus and in the book of Deuteronomy, the curses that Jewish people get if we don't do the right thing. And unfortunately, a lot of them have come to fruition. But a lot of these things we don't understand. Now, we're going to give someone a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope. My Rebbe here brings down by the Grushe Sfarad, the people from Spain, Jews from Spain that got thrown out. So he says from the Barbanel lived in Spain, was one of the higher finance minister, I think, in the government in Spain. And he says hundreds of thousands of Jews were thrown out. And what happened? Horrific what happened. Many people died of starvation. Many people that went on boats caught on fire, died that way. Many people died or they were sent to far off islands. Some were made into slaves. Horrific all the way around. Where they died by starvation, they were slaves, they were sent to faraway places. Nothing good here. Nothing good at all. Now, what's the saving grace here? So Rebbe brings down from the Arizal, from Avai's glory of blessed memory. And the Arizal says, I understand why this happened. I understand what happened over here. What happened? Says the Arizal. What happened was the following. Those souls that suffered, that died, starvation, were slaves, got burnt up, whatever the case is, of all these people. He said these souls were souls from the time of the temple. So what happened? Why they get so severely punished? You know why they got severely punished? They got severely punished, he says, because they were Ovdei Avodah Zarah. What did they do? They're idol worshippers. They worshipped idols during the temple. During the time of the temple. So God punished them severely later. Brought their souls back. Put them in this world. And that was their tikkun. And that's how they got fixed up. So, why did I say there's a saving grace? The saving grace over here is the Arizal tells us why this happened. You can say, how did he know? He knew, he understood. He understood. Totally understood. Now, that being the case, we understand very well that since he does understand, it makes us feel better. Makes us feel better knowing why it happened. Now again, I would call it a quarter of a constellation. Third of a constellation, a tenth of a constellation. Of a constellation. Why? Because even though these people were killed, massacred, died of starvation, enslaved, all terrible things, it still makes us feel a little bit better. We know why. Because today, we have no prophets, we have no sons of prophets. We don't know why things happen. We have no idea why things happen. We understand it's divine punishment in some way. But the soul can come back in order to be fixed up in many different ways. For whatever it did wrong. It can come back and go through all kinds of things in this world. And it might not be the sin of the person. It might be what that soul has to come back and go through. Okay. But we don't know. We can't know. Someone like Rav Isaac Luria, he could know. He could understand at the depth of his learning, of the depth of his understanding. No one's on that level today, not even close. But see, that makes us feel better to a certain extent. Because now we can say, okay, we have a reason. We have a reason why the punishment was so severe. So what about 6 million Jews massacred during the Holocaust? So also those souls had to be in those bodies for whatever reason to go through it. Why? We don't know. We don't know. But see, let's say we did know. You know, there's nothing worse than being in doubt. That's 100% true. And even if it's true, regardless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that's the reason. Somehow it makes us feel better knowing, okay, I can fathom why God might have been so angry. But if we don't know, and we see tragedy all the time, and hear terrible things, we don't know. We have no idea why. And in a lot of ways, that's worse. Because then it looks haphazard. Then it looks like stuff just happens, bad, wrong time, wrong place, whatever. Leads people to question. Breaks people. Nothing worse than being in doubt. But let's think for a second. Why is it if we know why they had to go through such terrible things, why does that make us at ease? The punishment is horrific. No question about it. You know, and how they died and what they went through. No question about it. But for some reason, it makes us feel good. It makes us feel good knowing. Knowing why. Some people ask questions to ask questions. And they don't care what the answer is. Some people throw out blocks like, where was God during the Holocaust? Why do bad things happen to good people? Legitimate questions, but they won't give you the time of day to answer. They're not interested in an answer. It's an agenda question. But see, we go through life, and there are a lot of unknowns. We don't know why this happened. We don't know why that happened. Once in a blue moon, God allows us to connect the dots. Okay? We connect the dots. Most times we can't connect the dots. We can't pinpoint why this, why that. But imagine how secure we might feel if we did know. But that's the whole question here. It doesn't take back what happened. What happened, happened. So that's why it's only a little bit of a consolation. It's only a little bit of a consolation to know. Because essentially, what's worse is not knowing. We believe not knowing is worse. Nothing worse than being in doubt. But you know what? My every son once told me, asked, a certain person died. I asked them what happened. How'd they die? He said, what do you care? They died. God took them. So they said, well, if they live to a ripe old age, and they died, it's one thing. If a person died in a tragic way, or that looks like it could have been prevented, leads us to think, why? What a waste of life. Could have been prevented. You know what the answer is? It's what God wanted. God took this person. It's not it could have been prevented. This is what was supposed to be. So the reality is, where's the doubt over here? Why is there any doubt? God does what he does. Now, it might be hard for us to fathom. Might be difficult to take. Might be difficult to understand. True? But you see, if God needs to do what he needs to do, we need to follow and keep what he says no matter what. And even if I have an answer why a person might have gone through this and suffered and this and that, it doesn't matter if I have an answer or not. Problem is, the answer makes us feel better. Not that it justifies, but it makes us feel better. So if we had better faith, better understanding, the bigger picture, you're right, it's tragic. Could very well be tragic. But remember one thing. Yesh din v'yesh dayin. There's a judge, there's judgment. Or let's say better, there's judgment, there's a judge. Things don't happen for no reason. That we have to realize. And even if it's tragic, you know, it might shake us up a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is what God wanted. What's the judgment over here? What's the measure for measure? I don't know. We don't know. Only God knows. But nothing happens for no reason. And we have to see and be able to see the bigger picture. We just get caught up in what we see and what we hear. But see, if we understood what a terrible thing, yeah. But isn't it a decree? Isn't it a divine decree? It's a divine decree. This is what's supposed to be. This is what God wanted to do. Or what he had to do. Now, we're not privy to all this. We're not privy to what the person did and how they acted and God's reaction, this and that, and all the repercussions. We're not privy to that. We're not privy to any of that. But we get caught up because we want to know. We want to know. And sometimes I would think, let's say something happens. We go through a hard time. Maybe a very hard time. God says, you know what? I'm going to throw you a bone. I'm going to throw you a bone. I'm going to open your eyes and I'm going to show exactly what you did, what the repercussions are, and why I had to punish you this way. Now, some people say, I can handle it. We don't like to be criticized. We don't like to be told we've done things wrong. I can't imagine when a person hears they did this, that, and the other thing, and this is what it costs, and you feel like a fool. Maybe some people get strengthened by it. Maybe. But when a person sees how it really works and what's going on and how things are affected, I don't know. I think they'll be broken. I think it'll be hard for them to fathom, to digest the seriousness of what they've done. You say, but isn't it better? Didn't we just say it's better to know? At least we feel better? Yeah, maybe true. But if you know you did something, you know the repercussions are catastrophic for what happened, not sure how good a person's going to feel. So you have to remember, God's the one who runs the world. God makes decrees and he carries out decrees. And it doesn't matter if we understand or not. We need to realize the repercussions for our actions. And we shouldn't be shocked. Something happens. Could have deserved it for 100 reasons or more. But the reality is, we want to think we're okay. But we desperately want to know why. And what do we see from here? You don't know why. You won't be told why. None of your beeswax. God makes decrees. We got to keep his decrees. And we got to help try. And keeping those decrees, we're not going to move one iota from what God says. And we're going to work hard. We're going to strive. And help reach the great potential we can reach in ourselves. I want to remind everyone, give a class on duties of heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Sunday, Book of Leviticus chapter 16, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel Time. Sunday, 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel Time. There is Noahide Nations, going through Noahide laws. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Q&A, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Thursday is Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, is Tanakh Talk, Controversial Issues. Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel Time. And that is Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers. I also give conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman. Or be on Orthodox Conversion to Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.